It is Wednesday, June 22nd at 4 p.m. This is a special meeting of the Fall River Housing Authority to interview an applicant for the executive director's position. Martha, roll call, please.
Chairwoman Sahadi.
Here.
Vice Chairman Underhill.
Here.
Commissioner Burns is absent. Commissioner Bentley.
Here.
Commissioner Medeiros.
Here.
Attorney Souza, the open meeting rule, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready.
I'm gonna let him in, Susan, let him in, he's gonna call the phone.
This is like backwards way of doing all this. I'm just saying, I mean, Zoom meetings are like all on the speaker on the TV these days.
So we have a lot of buttons and things.
This is probably very old-fashioned at this
Uh-huh.
point. We
I'm
don't have
sorry,
very many.
I just haven't seen anyone do it with the spider in a long time.
Hello.
All right, I think I'm in.
Hi, Mr. Starling. How are you?
All right.
This is Attorney Souza. I'm going to be with you in 1 second. We just called the meeting to order, and we're just trying to fix all the bugs here so we can get you up on the screen. So I'm glad you did come in today. Here he is.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Oh, he's, okay.
How's everybody doing?
We are good, thank you.
Kind of.
Thank you for taking the time today to interview
Tim?
with us. You have before you this evening the commissioners of the Housing Authority. I don't know if you have spoken to Attorney Mike Souza in the past, but he will be asking the questions, and we will be certainly listening, taking notes, and interjecting whenever we have a question ourselves.
Okay, that sounds good.
Mr. Starling, did you have an opportunity at all to review any of the Board of Commissioners meetings, like the last meeting in June, to show what the process or procedure was by any chance?
I think I had your information from the last time, so I was able to know how to call the order and all that was going to handle and go into session if y'all had to.
Okay, so that would be a yes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. But let me just reiterate, just so that we know, because we got a lot of buttons and things to take care of. But I just wanted to make sure we have approximately 12 questions to ask you. I'd ask that you manage your time accordingly, and that you can direct your answers to the board members that are present here today before you. We have one absent, but 4 of the board members are here.
Did we just
Okay,
lose him?
We just lost.
Well, he
the
might be
video.
here.
Are you still there,
Yeah,
Mr.?
I can still hear you. I
Okay.
just lost you on the Zoom.
Yeah, we want to make sure that you get that, but hold on 1 second.
I think it's not even, yeah. Everything in housing authorities. It does every time. So embarrassing.
Just be patient 1 second, that way we can.
There he is.
Okay.
Oh,
Nope.
is that live or is it?
He's on the top. Well, we just lost him again.
There
There we go.
Okay, you're back.
He's muted now.
Oh, up there he is, but we're using the audio through here.
Okay, can you hear us, Mr. Starling?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, so we can begin with the first question. Please describe for the board your administrative experience. What administrative strengths, management skills, public housing knowledge, and public housing philosophy will you bring to the position of executive director of this large housing authority?
Well, I have 25 plus years experience working in management, and I'm also a former resident of public housing. I've been the executive director for 10 years, different agencies, taking us from trouble to high performer. So my acronym with 24 CFR is very, very, ingrained. Worked very well with others. I worked for the Philadelphia Housing Authority, which, as you know, is a really large agency, as their general manager of development. I bring a very fair and firm, attitude toward work with mutual accountability to make sure that everybody can, like everything, it all begins and ends with me. So I take the blame for everything, and I give my team all the praise. I think one of my biggest strengths, also one of my biggest weaknesses, I treat everybody the same, and I work very hard for the agency and to ensure that we not only provide safe, decent, and sanitary housing, but also the number one thing, which is quality. And I think by providing quality, we give everybody a chance to have that hope to start that bridge of self-sufficiency so we can end what is called generational public housing in Section 8.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Number 2 would be, more specifically, could you please tell us about your experience as a manager of a complex organization, including how many individuals you currently supervise on a daily basis? Please include some of the issues that you as an administrator would address in order to more effectively manage a complex organization such as the Fall River Housing Authority.
Well, I mean, currently right now I have 5 individuals reporting to me, but in my career I've had a team as large as 121 individuals. Under that team I had project managers, department heads, division heads, and things of that nature. I think one of the biggest things of running any type of complex organization is to make sure you be consistent. That you definitely make sure that you're the same for everything that goes on, with being fair and firm, and everyone knows that when they come to you, they're going to be judged on the issue, not on relationships. And that's how I've always been throughout my career, making sure we tackle those things and be able to guide people along the way to ensure that we're compliant, following the rules and regulations. I think by doing that and making sure you stay consistent, you'll be able to run an agency that's free of any type of bias and be able to be compliant with the HUD rules and regulations, as well as with the state of Massachusetts rules as well.
Thank you. The Fall River Housing Authority has to interact effectively with federal, state, and municipal organizations and other funding sources. What experience have you had in dealing effectively with all levels of governmental organizations? Specifically, what knowledge do you possess of government regulations, especially those issued by the Department of Housing and Community Development and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development?
Yes, so like I said earlier, I have over 25 plus years experience. I've been working with federal, local, and state dollars throughout my career. I currently work with federal dollars right now with the HUD program. I'm very astute when it comes to 24 CFR, as well as the Department of Housing and Community Affairs of type of regulation when it comes to housing. I work with the boards and the Council of Affordable Housing. So I think I've been part of the individuals on that tier to help move the needle forward to ensure that everyone gets a fair chance to be able to move the needle forward, to become self-sufficient. I've written policy, I've introduced policy, I've had to follow policy to make sure we're compliant, and I think I've been very, very ingrained in ensuring that public housing has been a step up and not a handout.
Thank you. Could you please tell the board what academic degrees you hold in either business management or business finance? DHCD believes, meaning Department of Housing and Community Development, believes an applicant should possess a minimum of 2 years of experience in housing, community development, and public administration, or a closely related field. What education and experience do you believe makes you qualified for the position of executive director?
Well, first, I have my undergrad degree in computer science and business administration from Arcadia University. Along with that, I have numerous years of experience. I'm also have my PHM, which is a public housing manager, which is issued from NARRO, and I have my CPM, which is certified public manager, which is issued from Rutgers University. And with having those different acronyms behind my name and having all the studies that I've done, not to mention just having a grassroots working with community development as well as public housing and Section 8 housing, I think I worked with all genres. I don't know who you're talking to, but I worked with the nonprofit community, I work with the municipalities, and I work with public housing authorities, which kind of makes you that three-headed monster that have worked with all genres of what is provided in your agency, what you're going to tackle with make sure the clientele we service are definitely whole by the time they leave us.
And if any of the board members want to jump in and supplement any questions, feel free. So number 5 would be budget preparation and sound fiscal management are important parts of the executive director's responsibilities. Please describe in detail your experience in the preparation and monitoring of an annual budget. What was the total size of that budget?
The largest budget I've had to work with has been $125 million. As an executive director, my largest budget is $11.2 million. but my financial acumen is very, very sharp. One of the individuals that mentored me and I worked up under when I was with the city of Trenton was a person that was a financial analyst for the state of New Jersey. So working under her tutelage, I was pretty much learned how to work with a budget, how to make sure we have an accurate budget, how to ensure what has worked and what has failed, what we add, what we subtract, to ensure as we move forward, we know what percentages are we using and where we're at on the course of a year to ensure that we operate under budget and not operate on a deficit. So I've been very, very beneficial to have that knowledge. And every place I've been, we've provided a profit at the end of every fiscal year. Might not have been a great profit, but we never operated on a deficit.
Currently, you're at the City of Atlantic City, the Department of Planning and Development. What is the size of their budget specifically, and do you actually prepare that budget?
I prepared a budget for the CDBG and Home Investment Program, which is annually $1.8 million. And that's my budget to prepare to ensure that we work with the public services, public parks and facilities, and also administer our citywide rehab programs and our first-time home buyers program. And yes, I do prepare that budget. And currently I have, from the CARES Act and 2 years of budget preparation, we have currently close to $5 million to do an array of different public programs that is needed throughout the community to prevent for a time with the prepare, prevent, and respond to COVID-19, as well as our normal duties with our home investment and our CDBG dollars.
Thank you.
Could you please describe any experience you may have had with taking the lead role in union negotiations and the collective bargaining process?
Well, throughout my career and currently right now, I'm the vice president of the Supervisors Union here at the City of Atlantic City. But prior to that, when I worked for the City of Trenton, I was also a shop steward. So I worked very, very hand with preparing the different, proposals for our agreements that was going to be executed into contracts. I worked hand in hand, and if I'd have stayed in Trenton, I would have eventually became the president of the Supervisors Union there, because I did all the training as opposed to going out to Arizona to get my final indoctrination to become president. So I'm very, very well astute on working with unions.
Okay, thank you. So the Fall River Housing Authority experiences a large number of unit turnovers on a yearly basis, which creates tenant vacancy issues with funding agencies, resulting in reduced revenue to the Fall River Housing Authority. Could you please describe what efforts you would consider to effectively deal with these types of issues?
Well, one of the first important things you should always do by having your property managers know what's going on in your said sites. And you should always have your unit ready to go. The unit should not be in a disarray where they cannot be turned around within the HUD mandated 11 days. I mean, that's what I look at. HUD says 21 days, I say 11 days. Because you want to move individuals in on the 1st and the 15th of every month. And since this is a real strong need of affordable housing, we should always be ahead of what we should be doing, not behind. Meaning, we know units are becoming vacant. We should have 3 eligible families look to move into that unit, and we pick the best family based upon the waiting list who's going to move in. We should never be squandering around and wasting time. And what I tend to do with my team is to always find out what is going to be the man hours to turn a unit around. Per se, if it's 10 man hours to turn a unit around, if I put 2 individuals in that unit, then I should be done in 5.5 hours. And that's how you look at tackling to preventive maintenance what's going on and making sure you make ready time, because you know now 98% is your target goal, but before it was 95%. But based upon what we have in America today, with through COVID and all that, we should have every unit always filled. And if we have a unit that is that bad, it should be taken offline and put to modernization for longer term to be off shelf.
Do you support the concept of the delivery of social services under the auspices of a large public housing authority? If so, what types of services do you feel are the most beneficial to families, the elderly, and the disabled population of our public housing agency?
Well, like anything, I work with these programs every day, so I duly believe that social service programs are a need. And no matter what we're doing as a housing authority, we should be one-stop shopping, meaning that if we don't do the actual program, we should be able to connect our residents to that program. I think it's very important that all genres work together to help eradicate poverty and give people a chance to be self-sufficient. So that means our agency is doing everything, or partner with sister agencies. It is very well needed because you're looking at decades of an unbalanced playing field to try to make sure that it's going to be level moving forward. If you're dealing with your seniors, you're disabled, that you have to definitely make sure that you have those services well at hand. A lot of things I always do with my agencies is I have what's called the Life Center, meaning we try to take out some commercial space on one of our sites and make sure we bring all those services, whether it be the doctor, the dentist, everybody comes to one location so that our residents can be able to have less trouble with getting to these different services, like, that's where they might not have transportation to. And I think by having those special little things, you give people that pride and give them that extra little bit of service that helps make their lives better moving forward, especially when they get up in age, where we're all going to get one day. So we definitely have to make sure we're there for people in their time of need.
Okay. Thank you. The Fall River Joint Tenants Council is the oldest citywide tenant organization in the city of Fall River. Important to the group, first and foremost, is meaningful tenant participation by the residents in the policy and decision-making process that is continuously developed by the Fall River Housing Authority. What and how will you communicate with the Fall River Joint Tenants Council to ensure that they have the opportunity to participate and have a voice in the policy-making processes of the Fall River Housing Authority?
Well, like I've done throughout my career, I've always made sure that we have everybody at the table so we can make sound decisions so no one feels they're getting left out. One of the biggest things that my pet peeves when I lived in public housing was if you knew somebody, everything went your way. If you didn't know somebody, they kind of dismissed you. So I pretty much have what is called an open door policy and a different platform to ensure that everyone gets a chance to speak. And even though you might not always agree what the outcome would be, we always should give somebody a platform. It's because having different voices, we come to the best conclusion or recommendation for policy and procedure that's going to benefit the agency way beyond our years. So I definitely engage. I meet on the regular with my tenants so that we know what's going on and work hand in hand inside, because it's not about Mark Starling, it's not about the board, it's about ensuring that we're, as a group, moving forward, because we're only as strong as our biggest team member, and our biggest team member is going to be our resident.
Okay. What systems would you employ in order to monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of the Fall River Housing Authority? Also, with regard to that, what reporting systems would you develop in order to keep the Board of Commissioners aware of all of the authority's progress, as well as any problematic issues that may arise?
Right. I mean, as far as what we work with on a normal basis with the different 10-mass systems, the different housing software that we use, what I tend to have is different reports that I give to the board and give to individuals so that we can be pretty much in layman's terms, we work with the situation so that anybody off the streets can get our Section 8 report, can get our occupancy report, can get our bills report, and see exactly what we spent, as far as our budget and where we're at. And by having those layman terms reports, we're able to go to a meeting, like I might have talked the last time we spoke. If you look at any type of accountant, they give you a real big book of things every month when they review the different, your expenditures. Well, I tend to summarize that to a smaller report to be able to show you what was spent, what we had targeted for spending, and things like that. And we use both documents as attachments so that you have the backup information. Because like human nature, no one's going to read a book when they're trying to find one answer to what they're asking about. So I have these different reports. I've implemented those different databases to keep a hold on things. Just like I said with unit turnaround. And I always mandate at 11 days where HUD says 21 days. Always try to be ahead of the 8 ball and ahead of the curve so that when we're looking at things, if something falls through the cycle, we're still compliant. And I think to give that type of attitude and give those type of reports back to the board makes the board very effective when they're walking around the tech communities, letting people know what's going on, so no hotbed issue ever gets past the board.
Okay. Could you please describe what you feel to be your 3 most significant administrative accomplishments?
Wow, that's really great because, again, I've taken 4 agencies from trouble to high performer, and that's really a great stance in itself. I've also got the Strawberry Mansion redevelopment plan past through the Planning Commission. I've definitely did some great work here in Atlantic City to be able to get people connected back to the programs. One of my biggest accomplishments throughout every place I've been is I helped change the mindset of the clients that we work with. And by saying that, when I left the city of Newburgh and I went to Florida, I was gone for like 10 or 11 months before they picked an ED. And one of my board members visited me down in Florida and said, it was like you're still there. And what he was saying was that that's such a shadow, and by showing people what to do, they kept on doing it correctly, whether I was there or not. And no matter what program we put in place, if we don't change the mindset of the individuals that we're working with, we're never going to be successful. And I measure my success by educating, informing, and being that constant rock that people are going to need to make them move themselves forward. And I'm very, very proud of changing the mindset throughout the individuals that I've met throughout this country, as well as being able to take agencies and turn them around and be very good at strategic planning. But it's changing people and changing the vision of what people had once had to what America can be. I think is priceless.
Okay, thank you. And finally, in 5 minutes or less, could you please outline why you feel you should be the successful candidate for the position of the Florida Housing Authority Executive Director?
I think with all the individuals that you're dealing with, I have that unicorn status where I bring that certain quality that brings people together. I'm an ambassador. I'm very knowledgeable 24 CFR, as well as all the different housing programs that are out there. And I've been in all the different genres. I'm battle tested, and I think I'm really ready to walk in, hit the ground running, be the type of leader you're looking for. That way the board can sleep very easy at night, and attendants can know that their destiny is going to be changed based upon the hard work I'm going to do to inform them, include them, and make them successful as well. Because my success is measured on their success.
Okay. Does anyone have any follow-up questions? That concludes the 12. We lost your video around question 10, but you kept popping in and out. But anyone has any follow-up questions? Or?
No.
Okay, Mr. Starling, thank you very much for participating in tonight's open meeting in the interview. I guess we're going to move forward with the meeting.
Yes, exactly. So at this particular point, Mark, we're going to move forward with the remaining portion of our meeting.
Okay.
We'll have some discussion about the interviewees, yourself and others that we have interviewed, at which time the board will make a decision as to who would be best fit for us as the executive director, and we will certainly let you know what the outcome of our discussion is. So thank you again for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Have a safe night, everybody.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Starling.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
So what happened?
It's his video.
It's his video?
Yeah,
That's
he
good.
kept coming in and out.
All right, well, as long as it wasn't us for once. Thank you, Tim.
Tim, thank you for coming in.
So we have in front of us two applicants, or two, it was drilled down to two interviewees that we have interviewed, one at the last meeting and then, of course, one tonight. For me to start with this gentleman, he seemed pretty nice. However, I don't think his experience is really where it needs to be. He keeps referring back to the city of Trenton, and that was, what did I write down? That was 1999 to 2004, so that was quite a long time ago. His experiences, his recent experiences, it sounds like he is in the end of the planning department or the community development department with very small budgets. So we might be a little concerned that he would not be able to speed quickly enough with the size budgets we have. I don't know how everyone else feels. He definitely has a lot of experience, and he's been around the country. It looks like he's been from Florida to West Warwick, Rhode Island, to New York, and now back in Pennsylvania, working out of New Jersey. which is a little bit interesting because Philadelphia to Atlantic City is quite a distance. So I'm from Pennsylvania, so I guess I know that, but I'm like, that's quite a distance, so I'm not quite sure how he is working. I didn't ask him if it was primarily remotely or not, but that's just kind of my comments.
I agree with that, Mary, because if you look at where he just has various public housing authorities in a 10-year span, 2, 3, 4, is it 4 different locations from
Well, that's what it looked like.
Louisiana to Rhode Island to Florida to New York?
That's what it
and
looked like to me. Yes,
It just seems like a lot of,
not very stable.
in New Jersey.
To say it that way. So I would be concerned that if he were to come to Massachusetts, it may not be for a long time.
Might not be a long,
Right, it may not be for a long time. Just my thoughts. Anyone else has any
I agree
thoughts?
with that, that's what I got out of this too.
Although I have to say, from being a part of the screening committee, and now having a role at this point, I was pretty impressed with the caliber of all of our finalists and the skills that they possess, what they've achieved professionally. Minus some of these items like their number of locations they've worked at. It seems like all of our finalists were worthy to be there and to be considered
Oh, yeah, certainly.
for
I
this
wasn't
position.
trying to
So,
demean him in any way
Yeah.
or his expertise.
yeah, no, but I mean, I know
Yes,
there's
I
going to be
agree with you.
nuances that separate
One from
our
another,
ultimate
right.
finalist from the others, but
And I appreciate everything you and Commissioner Bentley did with regard to going through all of those resumes.
oh, sure, no, it was a
Finalizing
pleasure. It
them.
was
47 of them.
an eye-opening
Thank you.
experience, and
I
it
do
wasn't just us,
appreciate it.
but
I do appreciate
yeah,
it.
it was.
We're part of the team.
So I wanted to, make that point known because, whoever isn't selected shouldn't feel like they're that far lacking of what we're looking for. But ultimately, we want to pick the best candidate for our authority.
Sure. Any other thoughts?
No, I think we went from 47 down to
17.
17, and then from the 17 we went down to 2, and I think the 2 that we interviewed were the best of and each one has their strengths. I'm not really sure where to go from here.
No, he's very well spoken, this gentleman, but I agree with, there's a little concern with, so many different assignments and so many years, and we're looking for stability for sure. So,
Just make sure that did we read this would be discussion section or an agenda item? I just wanted to-
Right. Yes, we're on item B.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't read the items because it was a special meeting. I thought maybe we all knew why we were here. I apologize.
No, that's, I just want to make sure that we're crossing the Ts.
I'm with you there, I thought that's why I was in there.
So just to make it clear to the public that's watching this from afar, item A on the agenda was the interview itself. Item B was the discussion of the applicants. And then item C is a motion to appoint a new executive director if someone has a motion to make.
Sure, if I could make a motion to appoint Mr. Kevin Spardella to the position of Fall River Housing Authority Executive Director for a 3-year period. Start date to be determined and contingent upon successful contract negotiations between the Fall River Housing Authority and Commissioner Spardella, subject to final approval by DHCD.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Martha, will you call the roll, please?
Sure. Commissioner Maderas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bentley?
Yes.
Commissioner Underhill?
Yes.
Chairwoman Sahadi?
Yes. Is there any other business to come before us this evening? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to return.
Second.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you.